Well, I went out in 2009 with a 1950 Olds with a blown caddy in it that my father had run at Bonneville back in 1958. And they had pulled the car out of mothballs, and we went through and restored the car and got it all ready to race again. And he and his friends, who were some of the original people that ran the car back in 58, went out and ran the car again in 2009, 51 years later. That was my first time out at Bonneville, and I'm like, well, this is pretty freaking cool. I'm like, I gotta try this. I'm Larry Maas, and I run a land speed bike out at Bonneville. The bike runs on racing fuel. It's a turbocharged 1350cc Suzuki, and I run it in the modified partial streamline class. Land speed racing is basically taking, in my case, a motorcycle out to the salt flats and running it as fast as it'll go, or as fast as you can get it to go. I've been in the automotive performance trade for most of my life and specialize in making things go fast. The Hayabusa is a pretty popular platform. Engine is capable of creating tremendous amounts of horsepower. The bike makes 430 at the rear wheel. I'm told that the engine configuration that I have now will support about 600 at the crank. We'll see what I can get out of it. I'm running a precision turbo, and it's a 65 millimeter turbo, and basically I'm running that on 1.34 liter engine. Usually a turbo that size would be considered a very healthy turbo for a V8 car. So it's a little bit of a big turbo for a little bit of a small bike. Building the bike was a challenge. There were a lot of things that went on, trying to fit the land speed tires on the bike, trying to get the turbo system built on the bike, trying to get everything to come together in the time frame that was available. It was all a challenge, but when we got out there, it all worked out very well. For first time out on the bike, it performed excellent. The biggest thing we had was just ran out of traction. I wouldn't even want to guess, but I'm sure it would appall people. I mean, when I say it took 3 months from the first wrench to rolling the thing out of the trailer, that's not like 3 months, 8 in the morning and go home at 5. That's like 3 months of living at the shop and, going home and taking a shower and turning around and coming back. I mean, it's, and then all the hours that go on top of that for research and, ideas and getting things, made, like, okay, we're gonna try and make this wheel, or I wanna run these tires, and, that sort of legwork. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in this thing. There was no real testing on the bike since this was the bike's first outing. Bike got put together, went on the dyno. We got the ignition and fuel maps as close as we could on the dyno, and I rode it from the dyno 15 feet into the trailer. And the next time I rode the bike from there, I was out on the salt flats at 160 miles an hour on my first pass. Don't just go out there and, 160 and away you go. So as you're running through the gears, everything feels good on the bike, and so you just keep giving it a little more gas and a little bit more gas, and everything felt nice, so no, I didn't feel bad about it. Besides, if something didn't work out right, I was the guy who put it together, so. There was one particular run on the first year that I went out there that a guy had spun a Studebaker around on the run before I went. And so they had, got him all cleared up and groomed over the track, and apparently when the Studebaker had spun around, it lost some tires and gouged up the track pretty bad. And this is down at the far end of the track, and I hit a rut in the track at about 180 miles an hour that was hard enough to blow the fork seals out of the bike. So, and never even saw it coming. I just hit it and had a brief moment of, wow, what was that? And then went, well, I'm still on 2 wheels. Let's call this run over. When you lose traction, it feels like you're riding on snow, because the back end starts dancing around a little bit, and that's kind of the indicator that you want to back off the throttle just a little bit and get it to calm itself down, because if you get on the throttle a little harder to see if it'll drive through it, it doesn't really improve. It has a lot of power, and it just kind of pulls like a freight train. There's, if you want to go faster, you just give it more throttle, and it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. And it sounds pretty good too. At half throttle, I was running about 195 miles an hour. What we're doing is not necessarily the safest sport in the world, so we try and do everything we can to make sure that, at the end of the day, everybody goes home safe. For me, it's pretty relaxing. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, aren't you, uptight?" And I'm like, "No," because you only have one thing to do, which is pay attention to the way the bike's running and keep it between the course markers. They're coming by you fairly quick, but as long as you're able to focus on what's coming up, you're at mile 1, the next thing's 2, the next thing's 3, and there's only, you only see the big orange markers when you're hitting a mile. So it's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. Things occur pretty quickly, but it's a good time. In my class, at about 230 miles an hour, they're starting to see the tires come unglued. They're all running on DOT motorcycle tires. Since I'm running a tire designed for land speed use, the tires are performing well enough that the tech inspectors, which mandate every motorcycle in a 200 mile an hour plus class must get the tires inspected every run, looked at mine and went, "No more inspecting your tires, you're doing fine, have a nice day." I've apparently taken a little different approach than the pack, and a lot of people are kind of looking at it. So I've currently had it up to 195 miles an hour. I got to put a few more miles an hour on that one to get to a class record. Class record is currently 254, and until I can get, I've been able to run the bike once and made huge strides forward in getting the bike kind of set up and dialed in. Some more seat time is definitely going to be needed so that we can sort the bike out further, iron out the traction issues, and keep working on pushing the bike faster and faster. At that point, it's just the money to get out there and run, and the time to solve the issues that present themselves. The cost of rooms, travel to and from, all that sort of stuff can really add up. So it's going to vary where you travel from and how you get there, but that's the major cost of getting there, or the major cost of running is getting there and staying there, and then obviously the wear and tear you have on your equipment. Well, last year we ran a dually and a trailer, and this year I was lucky enough to be able to come up with a box truck. So I've got a new rig to go out there and a nice big box to put a nice sponsor's logo on the side, so anybody that wants to put some money and get some advertising, we got a nice setup. But we're going to be running a box truck out there with a lift gate on it, and it'll give us the room to put all the equipment in there and take with all the spare parts and stuff we need to hopefully put out a real good effort this year. If I can get another good run this coming year, meaning another good week out there, I think I can get my traction issues sorted out, and I might be able to start pushing towards the record this year. Aside from the actual racing itself, which I really enjoy, I would say that the people out there are pretty cool too. Everyone out there is extremely helpful. Everyone there is to do the same thing. They're there to go fast and enjoy themselves and do it safely. And you can get all sorts of help. I mean, you need something welded, the guy with the big rig down the way that's got a welding setup in there, yeah, no problem, come on in, buzz it up and take care of it. Somebody else needs hardware that you've got, you share that with them. I mean, everyone there really works as a community to make sure that the people that are there racing get out and race, because everyone's worked real hard to get there, and Speed Week is a once-a-year event. So to bust your hump, get there, and then not be able to race is extremely frustrating. So everyone there really helps each other quite a bit. So I think that's a really neat thing. I was very lucky to have a lot of friends and business partners help me out with the bike. Without these people, I wouldn't have gone racing. So they helped me a lot, and I gotta say thanks to them, huge. I'm not looking to get anything out of it. It's more for the enjoyment of it. I really enjoyed building the bike. I really enjoy the people I race with. I enjoy the racing itself. So doing it is the prize, and the record is kind of the cherry on top. As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I'm gonna keep doing it, and so far I enjoy it quite a bit.